It is accurate. You are not accurate.
Hello, did you reset, little robot?
You can't do that. You can't do that.
It's making me joke.
Which is what Etsy just told us to do.
Hey Pam, your entire shop is against Etsy policy.
Going completely unscripted today because I think that it's really important that together we sit and watch this video by Pam Duthie. You guys probably know and love her. We hang out together over on the eRank channel every Thursday, but Pam's got her own YouTube channel. We're going to be watching a video from that channel today where she had a communication with Etsy support over their most recent webinar. We had a lot of confusion about that webinar because the head of Etsy search for Google search.
Hi everybody, my name is Ratish Narur. I'm the global head of SEO at Etsy.
He advised a lot of things that I don't know. We'll watch it together in the video. But Pam and I, we sat and discussed after this webinar and we were so confused. And she said that she was going to reach out to Etsy and talk to them directly to try to get clarification on these events. So we'll just dive right into this video and then hopefully Pam can provide us with an update in the coming weeks. But let's go ahead and jump in. It's kind of weird. I never do reaction videos like this. When you see this face of Pam, you know it's going to be an intense video.
So that's as clear as mud, Etsy. I said a while ago I would share this. What happened? I want to share what happened in Etsy chat with me just to show that you can't actually trust Etsy chat. And I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to be mean to Etsy chat people. And I won't show you my screen so that we're not outing any Etsy chat person.
I did want to mention, if you're ever in communication with Etsy via email, down below at the bottom of their email, they actually have like a little disclosure that you can't share anything that you communicated about within email. I have seen sellers get into some heat with Etsy by doing that. This was within a chat window. Pam just doesn't want to out the person's name, but just something to keep in mind if you're ever in, direct communication with Etsy via email.
Etsy chat used to be really good. Etsy support. I used to be able to ask questions about rules and everything else. And
Same.
They were able to reply to me. I would be able to say, okay, that's the answer, because Etsy told me that's the answer. But I had a problem in the recent webinars talking about the gift mode. Now, everyone was excited, nervous, talking about the gift mode on Etsy and wanting to know about it. So a lot of people joined in the webinars. And the webinars seem to contradict themselves. So I urgently wanted to ask Etsy, what is the deal with all of that?
That's what we should be able to do, right? If we learn something from Etsy in one location and we have questions about it, we should be able to email them and get a straight answer. If there are black and white rules, when we have questions, there should be black and white answers to those rules. And there used to be, and I get it. There's over 7 million sellers now. I understand the ability to man that much customer support. It's a lot, but regardless, we still need consistent answers, because if the rules are consistent and if we can get deactivated consistently for not following those rules, then the answers that we receive from Etsy support and through their educational outlets should also remain consistent.
What I believe has happened is we all complained that there was no support for sellers. And in the pandemic, obviously the number of sellers has exploded. There is too many sellers on Etsy just now. I think I can safely say that. So
7 million.
They hired in a lot of staff, and obviously these people can't be experts. They can't even be very good. They're support staff, and they'll be minimally trained, and basically they have a script to dig through. They have a sort of handbook of their own.
Here's the thing, though, and Mark and I were talking about this today when we were out getting coffee. Yeah, they have that script of answers. I'm sure that they have a bunch of swipe files, right? But AI exists, and Etsy definitely utilizes AI already. So why don't these support staff have a library that their AI sources from that spits out what the universal answer to the question is? Especially when I'm sure that they're getting a lot of the same questions over and over again. That way we're not getting swipe files that are completely irrelevant to the questions that are asked. I'm just saying, I understand that inconsistencies can exist when it comes to training support staff. However, there are easy ways around that. It's going to happen whether you're talking to your cable company, whether you're talking to support for, I don't know, a desk that you just bought. There's always going to be outsourced work. However, the handbook that they all utilize should all point in one singular direction. And if they cannot get an answer from that, they need to have someone who goes to the next level. Like, who is the next person that this escalates to? And from my own experiences and the experiences of many of my students, that next level doesn't seem to exist. And Etsy will say, oh, we're pushing this to our support staff. We're sending this here. We're sending this there. But then you never hear from them again.
They dig into, and maybe some people they can ask about. But in general, their job is to answer questions, get people out the door. So they've got their script of rules that they dig into. And if that script isn't updated right, because there's some contradictions on the Etsy help pages, on the Ultimate Guide to Search compared to the legal things, it says contradictory terms that I've spoke to chat about, and they've said they'd get it fixed years ago, and they haven't. So there's some contradictory things out there. But, right, this isn't to brag, this is just to say that they went into this and they said that some items in my shop were against Etsy policy. And this kind of really annoyed me because...
Pam, before she even says it, Pam needle felts these awesome little animals, and in her shop it's mostly dogs. The definition of a handmade shop. She does everything right. She follows Etsy by the book. Etsy has actually had her run workshops for them where she had to make sure that everything that she taught was verified by Etsy. We work at eRank. When it comes to good information, Pam knows more than most of the people that I have encountered who work at Etsy about Etsy's own policies. So this part just blows my mind.
I know enough to challenge them. I have been teaching people for years. I've worked with eRank for years. I've been an ETSU and an Etsy, what's the other thing, the more recent thing. But I have taught certain subjects on Etsy within Etsy. I'm not employed by Etsy, I have to say. Shop Camp, that was the other thing, Etsy Shop Camp. I've taught some things. I've had contacts within Etsy. My listings and what my presentations have gone through Etsy Legal, so I'm pretty sure my listings are not breaking rules. But someone else who was contacting Etsy Chat might not know this and might suddenly change their whole shop. Let's go into this. So I reached out to them with a hello there. I'm a little confused about copying listings, duplicating listings. I've been watching the recent webinars, and in the first gifting webinar, it was recommended that a listing could be duplicated and put into a gift section in your shop. I don't think it wasn't in the webinar actually. I've later on in the chat, because I was bored waiting for them, I found the actual article. It was written in an article. Etsy said you could duplicate your listing and put it in a gift section in your shop if you had listings that were suitable for one section and another.
Yeah. Just a quick note about this. This is something that we actually teach over at eRank. If you're wanting to A/B split test your keywords, for example, or 2 thumbnails, as long as they're within one singular shop, that's okay. You're allowed to do that. Etsy has always said that you're allowed to do that. What you're not allowed to do, which isn't in their policies, by the way, I've checked their policies. There is no policy within Etsy that states that you can't have more than one shop with the same items, but you will get deactivated for doing that. But there's nothing within their policies that states that you can't. It's just, you just have to make that mistake and then get banned from Etsy to know, which I've always thought is kind of weird. But there's no actual policy that states it. So that's something to know. But in terms of creating duplicate listings, we've done that for testing purposes for years. Sometimes you need to do like an A/B split test. It's not for the purpose of making 100 listings to fill your shop up with as many items as you can. It's more just to make sure that if you've got two different ideas, you're able to see how those ideas directly affect things like your views, your favorites, and your sales, which is important for knowing what changes are working as you're growing your business. And Etsy's never had a problem with this.
In Thursday's Google SEO webinar, it was said that duplicated listings can cause issues with Google and Etsy SEO, and it was not recommended to have the same item duplicated in 2 or more listings. Can I please have some clarification about this? So obviously, I had to go through the bot, first of all, tell them what I wanted, tell them that, no, you haven't answered my questions. I still need more help, connected with an agent. So took a while to get through to the agent. Do you mind waiting a couple more minutes while I take a look? Please allow me a few more minutes while still looking into it. So I was really happy with this, because usually what has happened when I've spoke to chat in the past is I get the person, I'll get some generic replies, and they'll say, looking into it. Do you mind if I go away, find the right person to talk to you, and they'll email you? And they get back to me with an email in a couple of days. But Etsy doesn't seem to email anymore. The one person that got in touch with you seems to stick with you, and they don't necessarily know enough about what they're talking about. And it's not their fault. That's a training issue. But finally, thank you for waiting. I was checking for more information within the policies. Great. I've read the policies too.
I love Pam. If you guys haven't subscribed to Pam, go subscribe to Pam. She's like, great, I've read the policies too. Of course you have, Pam. Pam has read Etsy policies front to back probably more times than any human ever has. I love Pam.
I wanted to let you know some important information. So within Etsy, actually, the duplicated feature was created mainly. So if you want to create a listing that's similar to the one that you already have, you can duplicate it and modify it. For example, I see you sell, they went into my shop, I see you sell custom needle items, needle felted, darling. And I think this is great, and I congratulate you. Oh, a little patronising, that's cute. So, a little buttering you up because I'm just about to say bad things. I think you're doing very nice things. So the example I want to give you is that if you have some items that have the same dimension, then you duplicate them, but edit the content, but better the dimensions. Interesting English. For example, the reason for this is if you duplicate the listings, then the system may consider that as a duplicated shop, and this type of shop is not allowed within Etsy. So basically, the first answer she's saying is, my custom needle felted dogs, I can't have them duplicated as at the same size. I can't say a custom needle felted border collie and a custom needle felted wire hair terrier. And she carried on with, this causes the views to also be affected and more of your listings to appear and not the options of other sellers. Yes, but that's what SEO is about. I'd recommend you take a look at our policies so that you have a little more context about duplicated shops.
Having an Etsy support staff member tell you to look at their policies when nothing that they've stated is within their policies is the most infuriating thing that I've ever heard in my life. It's so frustrating. I don't know how Pam even maintained her. I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it. I would have been way too snarky. Etsy would have just cut the line and I wouldn't have gotten any answers. Pam handled this so well. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, I don't believe having more than one listing in the same shop is a duplicated shop. I read the article, I had read the article that she linked to before, and it's talking about duplicating a shop, having a different shop so that your items are seen. So thank you for the link. But I'm talking of listings within the same shop The first webinar recommended duplicating listings to put them in a gift section, but the last webinar said that duplicating listings in the same shop negatively impacts Etsy and Google SEO. So this is a thing I've found when you're dealing with customer support people. Thank you. I repeat what I'm saying because you were wrong.
Yes.
And also, the thing is, I was just saying one place on Etsy said we want to do this. The other place said it hurts the SEO. She's came back to me and said it's completely against the rules.
That's
It's
3
not.
answers. That's 3 different responses.
Yes, this is because I assume she means those shops are considered as duplicated shops, and this can be taken as a manipulation of the system to get more visits and sales. Not how it works. So, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Are you saying copying a listing within one shop is considered a duplicate shop? She gets back to me. Correct. As I mentioned, this feature was created to make an easier way to create a new listing that might have the same dimensions, for example, but it has to be a different product. So I said, so the advice in the first webinar would be advising sellers to break Etsy policies. And are my listings breaking Etsy policies? I've never seen any rules explaining this. I remember in the past Etsy articles, it said you could have more than one listing to experiment with different SEO, so long as you had more than one of the item able to sell. And here... Sure, and it can be that way, but the listings can't be duplicated. You can't have 2 listings from the same item, as this can be considered as a duplicate shop.
Shop. Listings. Shop. Listings. Listings. Not shop. Duplicating listings? Still not shop. Duplicating a listing within a shop is not making a new shop. It is making that is like saying, here's my house, and I'm gonna get 2 couches for my house, and therefore 2 couches in my house is a new house. No, that's not how. That's not how any of this works.
Is the advice from the first webinar against Etsy policies? Because quite often they answer a lot of flowery stuff. I'm just like, answer this very specific question. I couldn't give you an opinion on the webinar as I don't know the contents. The information I've given you is how the Etsy system worked and is only for your consideration. Excuse me, she's making me joke.
Only for your consideration. No, if you're stating that these are Etsy rules, they're not for your consideration. They are either the rules that you have to follow. That's like saying, oh, these traffic laws are only for your consideration. Not speeding in a school zone is only for your consideration, but if you do it, you're still going to get in trouble. It's either against the rules or it's not against the rules. It's one or the other. Now, there's that middle ground of best practices where technically, something's not against the rules, but maybe your customers won't like it, but that only affects your sales because the customers are the ones who are impacted.
What exactly is considered a duplicated shop? Okay, so let me explain this to you. So the duplicated shops are considered this way for 2 reasons. The first one would be because they have more than one repeated listing. For example, it is like you have the same shop, 3 listings of, and I've got 2 needle felted dogs large size and 2 needle felted dogs small size, and the system doesn't allow this. They're different listings. You're going to be able to duplicate them, but maybe at some point the system will bounce the listings you've repeated, and the second way in which a shop can be considered as duplicate is if you open a second shop and sell exactly the same as you have in your first shop. While she was typing all this, I found the article, but basically she's picked out 2 of my listings that they're not identical. I've copied them and adapted them, and it is because it's custom things, that it's not the same item because every item is going to be different. So I was getting quite annoyed at her because she was giving some terrible advice.
Rightfully so.
I linked her. I said, this directly contradicts this article on Etsy. Linked it, and it's a Starla handbook article. And I quoted what it was saying. Add a shop section for your most giftable items. Help buyers discover the great gifts in your inventory by making an easy to browse shop section. Want to put an item in more than one section? Create multiple listings. Is that article breaking Etsy policies? That's in the seller handbook. That is exactly the words it says.
At times like these, I just think back to the days of watching that 70s show as a teenager.
Burn! 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 Burn!
You're going to love this. Okay, in this case, when adding shop sections, you're not duplicating the listings, you're adding them to a section. And within the section, they can be duplicated, but they're going to be just one listing in different sections.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't take one listing. If you've got your shop sections, right, and you make one called gift. Let's say you make, I don't know, earrings or jewelry. You make jewelry and you've got one shop section for earrings, one for necklaces, and one for bracelets. But you want your earrings, one of your pairs of earrings, to be in your earrings section and the gift section so that you can appeal to Etsy's gift mode like they told us to do. You can't have it in both sections. You can only pick one section for a listing. You have to duplicate it, which is what Etsy just told us to do.
I had to say, I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. It would be two of the same listings in one shop. No, because you can't put one listing in two sections. You have to have a different listing. But it's still going to be just one listing. You're not going to be duplicating it. It will appear, for example, where it says all and where it appear on the section that says custom, for example, but still one.
All is not a section. All is all items. The sections are a completely separate thing.
Listing. Yes, it shows in all and custom, but it can't show in custom and gifting. So, no, it literally says to create multiple listings. You can't put the same listing in two sections. You have to create two listings and put one in each section. All is not a section, it's just all of your listings. That article is talking of having your listings in more than one section. Here's her reply. If the information in the article is accurate, you may consider replicating your listings and distributing them across various sections to optimize your shop for improved sales and increased visitor engagement.
If the article is accurate, the article, the actual published thing that is meant to advise over 7 million sellers, if it's accurate, no, it's accurate. It is accurate. You are not accurate. It is okay. Hey, sweetheart, honey, baby, sweetie. It's okay to say, I was wrong. Oh, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I was incorrect. Thank you for sending me the article that I should have had memorized, but I didn't because I'm new here. That it's okay. It's okay to say that. Nobody's going to get mad at you. But what they are going to get mad about is the patronizing tone and not just admitting when you've made a tiny mistake, because just because you work for Etsy, it doesn't mean that you know everything. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay to not know everything. But be okay with admitting when you're wrong rather than making sellers go crazy trying to figure out and decipher what you mean. Does
that not entirely exactly contradict? You may consider doing this to optimize your shop for improved sales. But did she not say earlier on that you can't do this because it would optimize your shop?
I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay. It's all right. Just apologize. Just say, I'm sorry. I was wrong. That's okay. It's okay to do that.
So then I said, okay, so you can have more than one of the same listing. You can. Hello, did you reset, little robot? But you just said that would be considered a duplicate shop, which is against the rules. She never said sorry at any point. Based on the database, it does appear that way, but it looks like there might be some information that requires updating. Is there anything else?
Whose information? Whose information? Whose information needs updating? Yours? Your information needed updating. And that's okay. It's okay that your information needs to be updated. But say that, say that. I'm sorry. It looks like we didn't have the most updated information, for our support team. That's okay. It's okay to say that. Are you going to get fired by Etsy for apologizing and making the customer feel valued and maybe sharing a laugh? You're not going to get in trouble for that. There's no employer who's going to get mad at you for giving your customer the best possible experience. We'll finish it out.
You need assistance with. I try and not flog a dead horse too much, but this is too this is basically saying, hey Pam, your entire shop is against Etsy policy. So I replied with, so your answer to me was incorrect based on incorrect data, which is not your fault. I'm just trying to understand. So we can have more than one of the same listing in our shop. And does this hurt the SEO of the listings, as that's what was stated in Thursday's webinar? Or is it possible that the presenter was also using advice that needs updated? Correct. You can have more than one of the same listing in your shop. Ooh. And does duplicated listings hurt your SEO? If the article says it's allowed, it shouldn't affect it.
I'm making this video today because Pam got an email directly from Etsy. They had somehow found this video, which is crazy. I'm hoping they see mine. Hey, Etsy, how you doing? Hi. Here's the thing. It's okay for support staff to be wrong, and it's never okay for us as the sellers to be mean to these support members. They're doing their best. I understand that. My own husband has been in that position before, working customer support for a new job. I get it. This is just one of many compound issues that are taking place at Etsy that I don't think Etsy knows how to solve. Now, if you guys want to stay updated on this, Pam will be making an update video as soon as she hears back from Etsy. I guess they said something like they're going to be looking further into this. And maybe this means that they're going to escalate it and try to figure out what's wrong. And hopefully they get back with Pam. So I'll have her link down below and up here somewhere where you can go subscribe to her. But I think that the key thing here is that for a long time, when there was a question about your shop, my answer was always, always double check with Etsy. Like, always double check with Etsy. Double check with their support staff. Send them a message. Well, first of all, sending them a message has become increasingly hard. Second, if this was so far off track, if this response was so far off track, how much other bad advice has just been given to sellers, and how many sellers have potentially had their shops deactivated over advice that wasn't correct? I'm a little bit worried. And as of right now, I've got a ton of sellers in my own community whose shops have been wrongfully deactivated. They haven't done anything wrong, no copyright violations. They're following all of the rules. Students of mine and who have done everything right and have just stayed on top of the rules and were randomly deactivated for no reason. And it astounds me that there's no way to get a solid response. And when it comes to deactivations, there's no way to really reach out to a person. And in fact, some of these sellers, when they appeal that deactivation, genuine like handmade products or designers who utilize POD, and that they're following all of Etsy's rules, they get an email back within like a second that says, oh, after careful consideration, your shop does not qualify for reinstatement. No, Etsy, no. We don't feel safe here anymore. We don't feel safe selling on a foundation that at any moment could crack apart and we just fall into the earth and lose all of the work and time and effort and customer interaction and communication and the trust that we've built and the traction that we've gained. Vlad over at TagPup on the Talk Shop channel is a great example of this. A seller who has made, so many sales, who got deactivated for no reason twice. Sellers don't feel safe. And it doesn't make sense to me that things like this get to go on. But when legitimate sellers who really, really need your help, who want to build businesses, foundations, sustainable incomes, they want to feed their families with this money, and we can't even get a straight answer from Etsy support, the people who we're supposed to trust. The only thing that we have to go off of is the articles that one of your support members just said are incorrect or that might need updating, and incongruencies between Etsy's legal policies. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know what to do when my inbox is full of Etsy support questions, from people who are looking for help and they can't reach a human at Etsy, so they come to me, hundreds of them. So much so that I have to have a virtual assistant to answer them all. I am an unpaid Etsy staff member. I just need to know what we need to do. What's the next step? I love Etsy, and I'm an Etsy coach. I advocate for Etsy. Any of my subscribers will tell you that everything that I do is by the book when it comes to Etsy's rules, policies, and their ultimate guide to search. Everything that we do at eRank, we make sure that it follows Etsy's rules, policies, and we typically will reach out to Etsy when we have questions. We want to make sure that, our higher up contacts that are unrelated to the customer support side, we want to make sure that things pass their sniff test. And occasionally, if they're unhappy with something that we have, we remove it because we want to stay in their good graces. As someone who loves Etsy, who's been selling on Etsy since 2012.
Most of my sales are online. I do try to advertise a lot at vendors fairs, but it's more of me just trying to get my name out rather than actually selling products.
Who has run, multiple Etsy shops, who works so closely with so many Etsy sellers, who works for Etsy's largest SEO company, that eRank is even in the Etsy integration section. I just need to know how to help sellers, and Pam needs to know how to help sellers. We're the voices that represent your seller base. We don't work for you, but we're working for you. Does that make sense? It would be really helpful to have a line of contact where we can ask for help so that we know how to better advise others. Because this wasn't a question for Pam. This wasn't a question for Pam so she could know for her own little Etsy shop. This was a question so that Pam can continue helping sellers on her channel through eRank support, through our Facebook groups. This was a little tiny answer that she was going to use to help thousands of individuals. And her experience was subpar. If you guys want to follow Pam and get an answer, on how this ends up playing out, like I said, I've got her link down below, and I'm also in communication with Etsy on Instagram about the shop deactivations. Hopefully I'll have an update for you guys soon. Etsy, if you're watching, this isn't a slam piece. This isn't me being mean or telling people to leave Etsy. Even when shops get deactivated, I'm the one who's like, no, keep trying, don't give up on Etsy, don't give up on Etsy. Anybody here will tell you that I am the biggest Etsy advocate ever. But Etsy, you got to make some changes. You've got to make some changes.